guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Celine if you're new here, and today we are going to talk about the CCRN and more specifically how I studied for it. I'm kind of late making this video, but a year ago I passed my CCRN certification. So the CCRN, or Critical Care Registered Nurse, this is pretty much a certification that is presented by the American Association of Critical Care Nurses, and it credentials nurses who specialize in acute or critical care areas, aka the ICU. So is the CCRN required to work in the ICU? No, absolutely not. It is simply an exam you can take to validate your knowledge in critical thinking, patient assessment, and clinical judgment that comes with that patient population. There are many reasons to get certified, whether you're, an ICU nurse or not. There's your emergency nurse certification, your trauma certification, neuro, whatever specialty there is, there's probably a certification that goes with it. One reason is that it validates your knowledge in a specific specialty. So for some, studying for and passing a certification exam, it's a personal goal and it enhances what you know and shows that you're an expert in your field. Secondly, it can provide confidence to patients or family members that see that you have the certification. Another reason is that many hospitals are now incentivizing nurses who have certifications, whether it be a bump in your hourly wage, or maybe it's like a bonus every year that you get for being certified. It also can help you, have different career opportunities and provide any sort of lateral mobility within your field if you're not going to go back to school. Finally, the last reason, and this is why I decided to get it, it may be required for some graduate programs if you want to go to grad school. So, for example, almost all CRNA schools are now requiring that you get your CCRN certification, and now there are a lot of people who are going to acute care, like nurse practitioner programs, that are getting their CCRN too. This is because I know specifically that acute care nurse practitioner programs are requiring that you have acute care experience prior to enrolling to the school, so you may as well get your CCRN to kind of boost that. So for whatever reason you're taking it, congrats. It's really not that bad of a test. For me, preparing for and taking the NCLEX was way worse. So yeah, if you want any more information about it, I'll definitely link the AACN link in the description box below. That way you can kind of, read more about the requirements for the exam, how much it costs, and look for any resources that you might be interested in. But now let's talk about what I did specifically to prepare for the exam and pass it on the first try. So let's talk about the timeline. I took about 3 months of consistently focused studying. I scheduled my exam for March 2024. So that means I started studying January 2024. I did spend a lot of time researching and deciding which resource to use. You will see that there's countless courses out there for CCRN prep. I asked friends at work, I looked at Reddit columns, name it, and I probably looked at it. I ended up buying the Critical Care Academy course. It's a self-paced course taught by this educator nurse whose name is Nick. I lasted about maybe 1 to 2 weeks using it. I read many reviews that were positive, people liked it, but the reason it didn't work out for me was because personally I felt like the reviews on certain subject matter was almost too brief. I remember thinking to myself there were many topics that I didn't know, and specifically with cardiac, and I wanted to have a better understanding, which this didn't really give me. It's one thing to have underlying knowledge and then receive a brief review from a course that you get, but at this point in my career, remember I did this a year ago, so I was probably only a year and a half in. I really didn't have a lot of background knowledge on all of the subjects. So if you don't know, I work in a multi-system ICU. When it came to, for example, heavy cardiac related topics such as the devices, I felt like I was just getting a sprinkle of what I needed to know. Once I kind of was like, this isn't really working for me, I ended up buying the Barron's book, which I did really like. I also ended up purchasing another self-paced course provided by Nicole Kupchik, and I ended up sticking with those two resources as the main thing for the remainder of my studying. So if you don't know Nicole Kupchik, she's another RN educator. She makes great educational content. I felt like her course definitely fit my style of learning better. So once I decided her content worked for me, and then I got my Barron's book in the mail, I got to studying. And so like I said before, I gave myself 3 months and I think it worked out great. I didn't need any more time. I studied only on my days off. As a nurse, we're exhausted. Personally, like after my 12-hour shift, I have no residual brain capacity left. Now, I would wake up on my own. I don't know how I would wake up this early, but I ended up waking up like between 7 and 8 a.m. on my days off, and I would honestly just sit at my desk and then start watching the videos. And I honestly just personally went in the order of the course. I didn't like pick and choose like different subjects. I just went along the way the course was set up in that order. I focused each day on, you know, whatever video topic that day was. And once I finished the topic of that video, I would then go to the Barron's book and read whatever topic I just watched of Nicole's videos. I liked doing this. This gave me a well-rounded understanding, especially when it came to things that I was less familiar with. It helped me like cement certain topics in my head, and then once I was done reading that topic, I would do the questions that were related to it in the Barron's book. This process probably took me like 3 to 4 hours per day, depending on whether or not I needed to rewatch something or reread something. There were a few times I would look up just other videos on whatever the topic was just to kind of learn more about it. Honestly, when I'm sitting watching videos, paying attention and reading, it doesn't feel like the time passes like that. It just feels like it goes by quick. Another reason like I preferred taking my time studying like this was because the test is going to ask you specific values of things, and you have to like choose what your interventions would be. So you can't just know facts. I mean, you have to actually know the subject. So that's why I just ended up spending more time with things I might have not been as familiar with. I feel like studying this way also helped me at work. It really helps to connect textbook subjects to the real life examples. So I would actually sometimes bring the Barron's book with me, and I would use it as a resource to either look things up or refresh my knowledge if I had something that related to a patient. You know, leading up to the exam, this just method ended up working for me. Another thing that I did was use the AACN test question bank. Honestly, like, do your practice questions. That's the best way. I said it with my NCLEX video, and I'll say it with this video. Practice questions are great, not just for, you know, learning the topics, but getting into the mindset of sitting for an extended period of time and being able to focus on questions and answer them. So I would say about a month before my test, I would sit down and do maybe like 25 to 50 questions a day, depending on, you know, how much time I had to do the practice questions. And yeah, so I ended up scheduling my test March, like I said. I scheduled it, the testing center was in Tampa, and then my boyfriend and I decided to make a weekend trip out of it. So similar to what I did with my NCLEX, you know, with my NCLEX, if you guys didn't watch that video, I ended up taking it in Gainesville, Florida. So I went by myself, spent a couple days there, and took the test. So I did the same thing with the CCRN. I went to Tampa, spent some time with my boyfriend, and took the exam. The morning of the test, didn't really study, didn't really do anything, just had a good breakfast, had a good night's sleep, and got it over with. And, you know, I took it, I ended up passing, it went great. I really hope this video was helpful to you guys if you're, you know, looking to taking the exam. It's really not that bad. I personally did enjoy studying for it because it's not like school where you're getting graded. It's not the end of the world if you have to take it again. Alright guys, so I really hope that was helpful information. Like I said, it's really not that bad of a test. It's not going to be the end of the world if you have to retake it. I will link all the resources that I used down below. And with that being said, that's it. So bye guys, I will see you in the next video.